So we have a workshop series that we do throughout the year, just trying to help friends groups with similar challenges in their park or green space. So over the summer, we had a lot of check-ins with different friends groups, and invasives was a huge topic of conversation and an issue area for a lot of our green spaces. So we have two workshops between now and the end of the year that are tackling invasives. So we have what we're calling our Invasives 101 on November 20th. And that's going to be at Riverwalk, which is actually in our Northwest Atlanta area. So it's right by the Chattahoochee River. We're going to have a chance to kind of walk on the trails. It's beautiful over there. And then learn some practical skills about tackling invasives in your green space, kind of a non-chemical route that folks can kind of take to tackle things. I'm trying to remember some of I think we've got like a honeysuckle maybe. There's all sorts of invasives that we'll be able to view. So that'll be a really fun and interactive workshop. And then our second workshop is going to be December 11th. This is more of our advanced invasives removal. And this is going to be in the Ashford Nature Preserve. So like I said, another great one, another great hands-on workshop. We're going to be kind of going more in depth about how to kind of tackle these invasives, what resources are available in the community and in the city for you guys to take advantage of. So two great workshops. And we are asking folks to just register just so we can kind of keep our numbers in check in terms of social distance and COVID safety procedures. But none of our workshops have any cost. And even if you yourself can't attend, feel free to tell others in your friend group or your organization. So definitely those are two great ones that are coming up. And we'll also have one more meeting. So this is kind of our last virtual meeting of the year, but then we're going to have a green space gathering. So our green space gatherings are meant to be a little bit more informal, a little bit more networking, kind of getting to meet people. And they're also a little bit more neighborhood based. So we're actually going to be on the west side of Atlanta, hopefully in Cook Park on December 9th for our last green space gathering. So it's a chance for you to meet other folks that are in that West Side area, get a chance to explore Cook Park if you've never been there, and just to network with other friends groups. So we'll have everybody kind of bundle up, bring a mug, and we'll bring some hot chocolate or some warm coffee to keep everyone warm. But we'd love to see you guys out at either one of these events. And like Tori's been pasting links in the chat. So you've got those two workshops and then the link to come for the green space gathering. So that's kind of what we've got upcoming in Park Pride. Kind of looking ahead at next year, I'm gonna have Tori launch a poll for us. We're curious, we wanna make these workshops relevant and these kind of programming events, what you guys wanna get out of it. So there should be a poll that pops up on your screen for a couple of different ideas about what our meetings and our discussions could be about. So take a few minutes, read through, you can select as many as you want, but we're just kind of curious. What are some topic areas that you think would be helpful for us to explore together?
If anyone has questions about any of these categories, let us know. We try to make them pretty comprehensive, but they might be, if they're confusing at all, please feel free to ask us to clarify. And Tori, once you feel like we have most of the responses in, obviously Cecilia and I aren't going to respond.
I did respond because
go ahead. I'm just going to close it so you won't get 100% participation.
Perfect. Ooh.
Right.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
We have in Pittman Park at two of the entrances, we have the signs with all of the park, rules on it. But we have a lot of new people in the community that have dogs, and they're bringing them into the park. And it seems like they're kind of ignoring the signs that say pick up after your pet. So, that some of the parks have those little baggy receptacle things. Does that come from Park Pride, or do we go through Parks and Rec to get that? I mean, where do we get those?
That's a really good question. Commissioner Dargle might be able to speak sort of from the department side of things. But that is something that our grant dollars have funded in the past. And from what I understand, and again, Commissioner, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in, but
Sure.
typically it's on the group to continue to restock those bags.
Well, we don't even have the receptacles that have the bags.
Right.
So
Yep.
I would like to get a couple of those for the park, as so if I need to apply for, one of the small change grants or something, then I can do that.
Okay, I'll take it from here.
Great.
That's correct. Ellen is correct, is that we try to get a sponsoring organization or group to be responsible for stocking the bags. So I'll connect you with our park operations team, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, sir.
At Perkerson, right?
No, this is at Pittman Park in
Excuse
Pittsburgh.
me, I'm sorry, Pittman.
Yes.
Yes.
And Winfrey, you're already connected with Erin.
Yes.
Who she would talk to, Erin Weiner.
I can send Aaron an email. In fact, I spoke to him about it the last time we met up at the park, which was 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, if we want to give Commissioner Dargle a chance to kind of give some updates, this could be a great time, since we were letting him answer some questions.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the only thing that I am wanting to provide the group is that we're still in the process of gathering public feedback and public hearing process for Activate ATL, Recreation and Parks for All, Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And that'll run through the November 19th. And then City Council will have a public hearing on November 29th. And then we'll get final, we'll go through the committee on November 30th. And then final City Council approval of our comprehensive master plan will be December 6th.
That's very exciting. December 6th.
Yeah, that's ultimately where our date where we'd like to get City Council to do final approval.
Coming up soon. We'll have to mark that on our calendars. So Commissioner Dargle, if people do still want to, if people want to check on kind of what feedback has been given so far,
Yeah,
look at the draft.
I'm sorry, Ellen, I'll send a link to that Activate ATL website for folks to go find out more information on how they can provide input and get an update.
Great, thank you. Very exciting. Any other updates from the Parks Department in the City of Atlanta?
Nope, just appreciate all the wonderful work that you all are doing for your Parks and Recreation system. So our humble thanks to you all and appreciation.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Excellent. Well, I will bring us back into a few more Park Pride updates. Every year at our conference, we honor our park heroes, the folks that are deeply committed to our green spaces and our communities. We have something called Inspiration Awards, where we look to the community to submit nominations for the folks who we really want to kind of uplift and spotlight each year. So our Inspiration Awards nominations are open. So if there are folks in your community, in your friends group, legacy neighbors that you want to kind of uplift. This also can include folks that have worked in organizations. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just volunteers. It could be folks who work for different agencies that are also working to kind of better parks. So we'd love if you guys, could think on and ideate on that. And as it comes to you, submit a nomination. We'd love to consider them for an inspiration award. We try to not only honor them at the conference, but give them a small token of our appreciation and a nice little plaque or certificate for them to keep with them for their efforts. So would love nominations.
Yes, please think about who in your community deserves that award, because we want as many submissions as possible. And I don't know, Cecilia, if you mentioned that the deadline's January 9th, you probably—
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, January 9th. Thanks, Ellen.
Of course. So I'll just talk very briefly about grants and visioning, just to give everyone kind of an end of year update. As you may know, our grants application cycle just closed. The deadline to submit was the 1st of this month. So just wanted to recognize all those groups that went through that months-long process, did all the steps, got to this point of submitting their applications, and let everyone know that we are hoping to be able to announce those in December before the end of the year. Depends on timelines from our funders, but we should be able to make that. So look out for announcements. Very exciting. Congratulations to everyone who made it this far and submitting their grant applications. Also from grants, we still have our small change grants that are rolling, so you can submit those anytime. Definitely better to avoid the latter quarter of the year, since, as I just mentioned, we're focused on our larger grants, community building and legacy. But small change grants are awarded up to $5,000. Those are matching. So, you'd match those dollars one-to-one with a number of different funding sources. Most of those awards are closer to $2,500. And Kayla Altland is the program manager, and I'll put her email in the chat so you can reach out to her if you have any questions about grants. And just very briefly, visioning updates coming up early next year. We will kind of start our 2 most recent visioning awardees. So Riverwalk, we just mentioned, is going to be the site of our upcoming Greener Good Day / Invasives 101 workshop. They've kicked off, but their public meetings start in January. And then Shoal Creek, who we have some representation from here, which is exciting. That visioning process in DeKalb County will start off in January as well. We also have some exciting things happening in Schoolyards. So we wanted to share in the chat with you an article that Ruth wrote. She's on our staff. She's a project manager for the Schoolyards initiative. So if you're interested in what's going on with that, please feel free to check out that article.
And for those who don't know, Schoolyards is a really awesome project wherein different partners come together to beautify and activate space around schools. And then when schools are not in session or don't have students on them, they become a space for community members. So it's a really, really neat initiative, and using art and community, and the kids get to participate in the visioning and have a say in what their space looks like. So it's a really, really neat process, and a great article kind of talking about a recent project there.
Yeah, I just put the page on our website that talks about Schoolyards if you want to look into that initiative more. Very exciting. Obviously, everyone loves kids. It's a pretty good time. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll sort of transition to Tori with volunteer updates.
Yeah, since we're now getting into the beginning of like fall season and we're all getting outside and doing volunteer work days, just wanted y'all to let the processes in Atlanta and DeKalb that we want to go about informing us on what you do in your park, so we can kind of keep metrics on what's going on, and it'll also help on your behalf when you're trying to reach out for grants and things like that. Having that data is always good for matching hourly wages and things like that. It's like $20 for our volunteer hours right now, which can be used towards grant matching. So always keeping tabs of that is really good. So in Atlanta, there is a form that you should fill out. It's a sign-in sheet that we have for you all. If you can start to fill those out, if you haven't already been doing it, you can go on the website. I'm about to drop the link right now. And towards the bottom of the page will be where you can find the sign-in sheet for City of Atlanta, kind of volunteer beautification days that you kind of have in your parks. Once you kind of have the work, then kind of just fill that sheet out if you can, and just send it back to us. You can scan it in back to us, take a picture of it and send it back into us, whatever works for you. If you can't do that, but you also did get a tab, just take the tab and just send me an email and let me know how many volunteers you had and how many hours they worked. And that's for the City of Atlanta parks. In the DeKalb County parks, there's a beautification form that you should be filling out. It gets approved, your project description, your name of your friends group, and all that goes on the form. Then you, on the second sheet, you kind of list if you need tool rentals, although DeKalb County isn't doing tool rentals right now. And on the third sheet, it'll be the approval form for us at Park Pride, the project managers at DeKalb County, and then the commissioner at DeKalb County to approve your project. And once it's approved, then you can go ahead and, complete your work day. I know a lot of you probably didn't know this was going on or this was a thing, but if you didn't know and you need a copy of that form to start doing that, just let me know. My email's in the chat now, and I can provide you with that beautification form for you to start filling out. Other than that, we're also looking, once you start doing it, you might see how kind of wonky it is and over, it might be a little OD, but we're trying to get that process a little wrinkled out to where it's a little bit easier for you to get your acceptance and know your project or your beautification day got accepted. So that's just our update on Park Pride's tab.
Thanks, Tori. I know we only have a couple of DeKalb representatives on the line, but Valerie, I know you do the beautification form a lot. So if you have feedback on that, please feel free to give it to Tori as he's kind of thinking through how we can update the process.
Sure.
Thank you.
Actually, I think it's pretty easy the way it is, but I'll look.
Great. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any questions on reporting volunteer hours? Like Tori said, we're just trying to, have a running total of what's happening in the parks. And if you haven't been sending in your hour, those hours, but you have been tracking them, we would love to have you share those numbers with us. So feel free to send us an email with those numbers so we can add it to our list. Gonna just pause for a second. Any questions? Okay, so I'm gonna introduce our partners. So as Ellen said in the beginning of our call, we have some folks from Trees Atlanta and the Atlanta Tool Bank. I'm gonna kick it over to James with Trees Atlanta, just talk a little bit about their mission, how Trees Atlanta can support Friends of the Park work days. And James, also feel free to plug any kind of programming, maybe Arbor Day plantings or things that are kind of coming up with you all that you want this community to know about.
Cool. Thank you, Cecilia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am with the neighborhoods team at Trees Atlanta. A lot of you are probably already familiar with us and have worked with us in some capacity or another, but essentially our goal is to protect and expand the canopy in Atlanta. And we do that through large street tree plantings, which is kind of what my team specializes in. We also do invasive removal through contract with the city and through that are grant funded as well. We do landscaping on the Beltline. We have a number of different services. I'll go into some of our specific programs later. But the main thing that we do, that we offer to parks, is our volunteer tree plantings. So usually we aim for projects between 30 and really up to 100, even more trees at a time. And what we do is we meet on site with however many people from your Friends of Park or community group want to be there to kind of provide input. And then we take the things that you've highlighted. If you have stream bank issues, if you have stream washout, if you have areas where there's standing water, if you have areas where it's too hot, we try to take all that into account and choose ideally native species to address those needs. Help you get the plan approved by the city, and then we organize all the trees, all the tools, help you organize the volunteers, and lead the planting the day of. And we also provide 2 years of maintenance. If there's not room for 30 trees, we still try to accommodate smaller projects as well, but that is the goal because it's usually how we get the best survival rate, is if we plant a lot of trees at once. So that's kind of our basic model, how we've worked for a long time. But something that I also feel like is worth plugging here, because I feel like we probably have a good network here of community stewards and environmentalists, is our front yard tree program. Our front yard tree program is our way of addressing the issue, which is that I think I want to say 70% of Atlanta's canopy is on single family or private property. And so we have funding now from the city to plant canopy trees in front yards or side yards that have road frontage for anybody who lives in the city of Atlanta. And that now extends also to unincorporated DeKalb residents, Decatur residents. We get, feels like another city every day. So that's a really great way to increase connectivity ecologically between your park and other parks for the sake of, you know, birds, wildlife, all that, but also to promote the public health of the community around your park, to increase shade, increase, you know, air, noise, traffic pollution, buffering. There's, you know, I could go on, but I think we all here know why trees are important. So I'll drop some links for both of those programs in the chat here. And while I'm here, I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, James. There was a question in the chat from Wayne. So he had asked if we're going to record our upcoming invasives workshops. And those will be like very hands-on. They're in person. We're going to be actually out there with the tools doing the work. So not a good way to record them. But he says he wants to learn about these issues. So I'm sure Trees Atlanta has some great resources. Do you have any suggestions for anyone who wants to learn about invasives management or ways that Trees Atlanta can support that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I know we also have Dana Russell on the call here, who used to work on our forest restoration team. She may be able to pipe in if I don't answer the question fully. I think one of the best ways to get involved on the invasive removal firsthand is just tag along on one of our invasive removal projects in your area. And you can see those on our calendar, which I'll also drop here, because that's a great way to meet, you know, just get a feel for what those projects look like. The funding for those is a little different than my programs. So Dana may be able to answer that better too. But at minimum, you can get a lot of experience in invasive removal just tagging along on those projects. And I know that the coordinators and the manager of the forest restoration team have a lot of good resources, both on our website and also just privately, that they'd be happy to share. So is it Wayne? I can, oh yeah, go ahead, Dana.
James, yeah, I'll chime in. Sorry, I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I'm going to stay incognito here. But I hope all y'all can hear me. Yeah, so our Saturday projects are a great way to learn about invasives that might be in your yard and get familiar with how to properly remove them. There's usually something going on every single Saturday. We work in I believe it's up to 30 different parks all over the city. There's also resources that we have on our website to show you how to identify invasives and show you how to remove them. I will drop them some links in the chat before this is over. I just need a second to look them up. But yeah, our forest restoration team rocks. We are trying to do something that's kind of the equivalent of our Plantlanta, which actually just happened this past weekend with our FR team. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, Plantlanta is our biggest planting weekend of the year. I think, James, correct me if I'm wrong, we planted around 625 trees between this past Friday and Saturday. Yeah, so that's awesome. So yeah, we're trying to do something like that with forest restoration, and I May and work in different park and green spaces that we don't necessarily have funding to work in regularly. So if that's something that, you know, is setting off a light bulb and, you know, like a space that's heavily invaded, I would love to connect you with our FR team. Taryn Heidel, some of you may know, she's the manager. She's a rock star. Oh yeah, I see, Ellen, you dropped that in the chat, the slideshow on invasives. I think Taryn made that. That's a super helpful resource. I actually made a video for our education team last year showing privet, Nandina, English ivy, a couple other major invasives. I can try to find that. It's pretty goofy, might make you laugh. But yeah, that's basically the gist that I have. So I can drop those links that I'm thinking of in the chat, and feel free to chime in if you have any other questions.
Well, thank you, James and Dana, so much for coming. Really appreciate it. They're going to maybe continue to drop in some more links for y'all. And as kind of questions are percolating, you can continue to kind of type those in the chat if they come up later for y'all. Okay, well, I'll move us right along over to Toolbank. Joanna, if you want to share a little bit about Toolbank, the mission, what kind of programs you guys do, and you guys have also a workshop series, and just a little bit about how friends can access your services. That would be awesome. Oh, you're muted still. Perfect.
So I work at the Atlanta Tool Bank, and we pretty much have members, and those members can rent out tools from us, whether they're doing work. Park Pride is a member agency. Trees Atlanta is a member agency. It's good to see you guys on the call. But we have about 300 agencies that we've served in the past year and a half. And we just provide the tools so that you can finish your projects, whether it be building flower beds, whether it be improving the parks, if there's a special event that you want to do, like if you wanted to do a fundraiser, we have tables and tablecloths and PA system. We also have a really cool program for farmers where they partner with Foodwell Alliance, and they rent tractors from us. So because a lot of farmers aren't necessarily under a nonprofit or have their own bylaws for their charitable organizations. So Foodwell kind of blankets several independent farmers, and they're able to rent the equipment from us, which otherwise would be pretty expensive because they get a grant for doing that. Foodwell has like a budget for them to be able to rent the tools out pretty much for free. And then Foodwell covers it. So that's one of the really cool programs we have. And then I was just on a call with CJ yesterday, actually. CJ Clark is carpenter and artist, and she does the educational programs. And we just got a grant to be able to be mobile with that. So, and we haven't gotten the vehicle yet. We just received the grant, but she has a class every month that's just a small project for learning. And all of our member agencies actually have access to those classes for free, if you're a member. And just really helpful. And honestly, it was an honor to learn from CJ. So I'm like, I want to take all the classes just to be there. But yeah, that's basically, we're just lending. We have the tool lending program. We have the educational programs. We have the farmer BCS equipment program. And we're trying to grow and help y'all finish all the projects that you want to do and partner with you guys.
Any questions for Joanna with the Tool Bank?
Hey, Cecilia, this is Mike. I think I've heard this answered before. Thanks, Joanna, for joining us. But I heard about Tool Bank from Carol some time ago.
Yeah, so I'm really, really fresh. I've only worked at the Tool Bank for a month and a half. And so you guys all probably know Carol. She's great. She worked there for 4 years, and I took over her position just recently. So I'm new, just getting in the hang of it. I previously was working at the Sandy Springs Recycling Center. So I'm kind of wanting the background in nonprofits, but an interesting thing about me is that I live in Chosewood Park, and I've lived in Chosewood Park for the past 8 or 9 years. So I am a huge fan of Chosewood Park, Trees Atlanta, Park Pride, Tool Bank. Like, I knew about all of it before. So I'm like, this is kind of a really dream job for me, honestly.
Awesome. Well, actually, that wasn't my question, but you should also know Jim and Taryn then in Chosewood Park.
Yeah, Taryn. My dog loves her dog and always tries to run down the hill, and so we've become friends and we talk. And she'll put all the flyers for the park meetings. Like, there was a meeting in the park just to celebrate all the stuff that has gotten done in Chosewood. Carla Smith came, and Taryn just organizes so much stuff, and she'll let me know about it, like walk up to my door.
Awesome. Well, but yeah, I've heard Tool Bank has gotten much better the past month and a half. Something changed month and a half ago. And
Oh, really?
Question for you or Park Pride. How does Park Pride membership help us friends groups? Can
So
we tap into it on the weekend?
On the weekends? So
Well,
basically Park Pride, you guys pick up all the tool orders for the Friends of Parks, correct?
Well, so we're going to talk about this later, but I
Yes,
love that we're talking
trying
about
to
it now.
do something, yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to kind of float with this group is the possibility of friends groups having sub accounts underneath the Park Pride membership. So right now there are already friends groups that have their own membership and are, you know, independently coordinating their tool drop-offs and pickups. And we have folks that kind of have us put the tool order in for them, kind of coordinate it, but they're the ones that you know, are responsible for the tools and make the payment for the discounted tools. So we're thinking about exploring this sub-count model, which would allow us to pay for that membership fee, allow friends groups to have, you know, forego having to pay that membership fee. You'd still need to pay for the fee rental costs, but they're greatly, greatly discounted tools. And you guys could take you know, have the ability to take advantage of the other membership benefits, like the workshop series, like potentially renting out the tool bank space for different meetings and the like. So really it would allow you to have the kind of membership benefits without having to pay that membership fee, which I believe is $100 a year. Does that sound right?
So it depends on
Depends.
what your budget is. I sent a link at the bottom there. It's right above what Dana just sent. And it basically, you can go through and look at what kind of inventory we have, but also it has set up where it's like, if your budget is under 100,000, it's only $15 a year. And then if it's above 750, it's $100. So there's a couple in between there that are different just depending on your budget. So that's like kind of a question I have about, would it be a combined budget or would your budget go up? Or, you know, would you guys be kind of a liaison between people making payments on the tool lending, or we would just still do it the same way? I'm interested in what you were thinking about that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's, you know, conversation for us to keep exploring. The idea was to make it something that would be easy, to have groups not have to necessarily email us their tool requests. If you had a sub-member account, you'd have your own login. You'd be able to kind of on the fly be able to make those quick orders, schedule them on your time. So the idea was to kind of have something that would be
open up a portal for them to sign in, and you not have to have
exactly
like a whole another job for someone at Parks.
right. And we
to
can
do
coordinate
that,
with
yeah.
you about how exactly the payment structure and things like that
Right.
work. But definitely want to kind of have you
Just
guys
give them
think about
closer
this.
access without you
Yeah,
having
sit
to
with it.
hold their hand. Yeah.
Right. Check out the tool inventory. They, like Joanna said, they also have event type stuff. So you guys ever having public meetings, there's tables, there's chairs, there's PA systems, all sorts of stuff. So there's really, there's really a lot that's accessed there. So I think actually we could throw the poll up. Tori, do you have a second to, so this is just a little temperature check, interest check. We've given you just kind of a little intro to maybe a sub account. Are you interested? Are you not interested? Let us, you know, yes or no about if you would be. But this is something we want to think about and offer. And if we think this could help folks, we definitely want to move forward with that.
Joanne, I have a question for you.
Okay.
We have a fair amount of tools between 3 sets of parks that we share tools with, between loppers, weed wrenches, some other saws and things. And it's the maintenance on some of these that I would have the question on. Would we have the ability to sharpen, tune up, do these things to improve some of the equipment that we have?
Usually that responsibility would, have you rented from the tool bank before?
This is not renting from the tool bank. This is, we have a large set, like a whole back of a truck worth of tools
Yeah,
and including some power tools. And for the maintenance of these, I think the maintenance is just getting put off. We're just using the better instruments, and then, I think that a lot of our tools need some maintenance.
right. That would be, it's not something that we have actually some skilled volunteers that help us maintain our tools and things that get donated. Like we get stuff donated from Charm, and we have more skilled volunteers that come and fix them. But as far as the tool lending program for our tools, we maintain them, but we don't have, I don't think we necessarily have tools to rent out to like sharpeners and stuff like that of different things. Like we have those things so that we can do that for our tools. But that's actually really interesting because we're open to adding anything to our inventory. Like I don't see why we couldn't add things that would help you maintain your tools to the inventory, because we have Home Depot is one of our corporate sponsors. So a lot of times, I mean, we have like a budget with them that we can spend.
Yeah,
So,
because if that's that ability, it just says that we don't have to buy more tools because we have
right,
extras.
just maintain them. Yeah.
And by the way, for those people that want to learn more invasives, every second Saturday we're out there, and this Saturday we'll be out there removing things at the Whetstone Trail at Adams Drive and cleaning up a amphitheater. But our numbers vary, so we have enough tools should we have 30 people out there. But typically when there's 6 of us or 8 of us, then we're just using the best tools and putting the other ones that need maintenance back in the bucket.
That's awesome, Jim. Is there a sign up for that? You have like a website?
I do. It's Friends of Bolton Parks on Facebook, and there is a active sign up, and we publish it out to the local neighborhoods, Hills Park, Bolton, Whittier Mill, Riverside, and invite each of these groups and these friends groups, Spring Collins Park, Riverside Parks Group, Chattahoochee Parks, to come out. And then when we get really near the river and really near to where the comet may have come across, then I start bridging across the river and pushing it. It's kind of a long reach since we don't really have that connection across the river yet.
Well, that is, like you said, a great way to learn. So plenty of friends groups have invasive removal work days. So definitely join that if you're part of a group that, beginners in that sense, or if you personally want to learn more. That one of the best ways to learn is by doing. I will add as well for the tool bank side of things. I know in the past there has been a tool bank workshop on tool maintenance. So maybe that's something we can request that, that be brought back, or maybe we have a partner workshop that's kind of about building your tool cache and how to maintain it. That might be something helpful for groups that have their own tools, which plenty of them do.
And I just put my contact information in there. So anyone who wants to contact me, feel free. You can get me anytime.
Thanks, Jim. And I'll add one last thing in thinking about sub accounts for friends groups, or kind of what that arrangement might look like and what the benefits would be. As Cecilia mentioned, at this point, we're not looking at paying the tool rental fees on behalf of groups. That would still be something the friends group is responsible for. But it's possible, and I'm hoping that if we kind of have groups signed up for this and they're renting tools under our master account, we can kind of see what that costs per year and potentially build that into our volunteer program budget or our Friends of the Park program budget in future years. So the better we can kind of assess what that general cost might look like, the better we can plan for it and see if it's feasible. So that is something that I would like for us to do at some point, and having groups sign up and having that kind of running total would help us plan for that.
Any other questions, tool bank related? Nope. Okay. Well, so we're kind of wrapping up this year, and now we're sort of looking ahead at next year. So as Ellen and I have kind of shared, and Tori, about, we're always trying to make processes smoother, make things easier, streamline, build programming around the needs of the community, and not kind of just throwing things at you guys that you're not interested in or that are not helpful. So we want to kind of have you guys be a part of our planning process for 2022. That's why we guys had you fill out that poll with some content ideas. So thank you for contributing. If there are other things that kind of come up, feel free to reach out, because you're probably not alone in that challenge in your green space. So I'm going to pass it over to Ellen, who's going to kind of talk about what changes are sort of coming down the pipeline for next year that we kind of want to give you guys the heads up on, and some things to look forward to next year.
Awesome. Well, I first want to reiterate that we'll continue this sort of green space gathering park meeting schedule that we've started. So rather than having a park meeting every month, we'll have every other month a virtual park meeting alternating with an in-person green space gathering. And Cecilia mentioned earlier, those green space gatherings are really an attempt to get nearby friends groups, sort of like local networking, organized, but they're open to anyone in the network. So even if we're hosting a green space gathering that's not near your park, if you want to explore and see what's going on in other parts of our service area, hear from those groups, anyone is welcome to join. But we'll kind of be reaching out to groups in specific areas. It'll be co-hosted by one of the friends groups in that area. And it's kind of like a local networking and strategy session, and also a chance, obviously, to meet with our staff in person, ask us questions, get updates. So we'll continue to alternate months, park meeting on Zoom, green space gathering in person, going into next year. Early next year, a lot of you already know this, but we have an annual registration process for Friends of the Park groups that helps us obviously keep updated contact information, kind of see what's going on with your groups if you have any plans going into the year, just kind of get a sense of who we're working with in any given year. So that's really important to us every year, to have groups register just to keep up to date with us. But especially next year, because we'll be moving to Salesforce, we'll have a new kind of database system. So we're going to be kind of building all of that information back up, mostly from the ground up, and we'll definitely have a registration form that will hopefully be a little more streamlined, so you're not doing a whole bunch of registrations for different, like if you're a fiscal sponsor group or if you're a community garden group. We're going to try to make it an efficient form, but that'll have really important information on it for us to keep our records, to be able to communicate with you effectively, etc. So please look out for information about registration, which will go out. It'll be on our website, and it'll also go out in our monthly Friends of the Park emails. And that's very important, especially next year. So thank you all for completing that with us and helping us get that very valuable information. Also wanted to mention that our conference is coming up. That'll be next March. It's Monday, March 28th. And we're finally going to be back in person, barring any craziness. We're going to be back at the garden, which I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. It'll probably look a little bit different, just for kind of safety purposes, but that date is on the calendar. We're going to be at the garden Monday, March 28th. Right now, our call for presentations is open. So Tori's going to drop the link to that page in the chat. And we often have friends groups submit for proposals for conference sessions. So if you have an idea, please feel free to look over that information and submit your proposal. What else do we got? That might be it for early next year. We talked about our sub account kind of proposal with Toolbank. We'll be looking at that, but glad to hear from the poll that there are a lot of groups interested in that. Hopefully we can roll that out really soon. But with the kind of staffing transition with Carol sadly leaving the Toolbank, but going to an awesome new opportunity, so don't worry too much about Carol, and having Joanna and Dorian, who also works there, brand new, we're going to work with them now to kind of figure out what those sub accounts look like, and we'll roll that out probably early next year as well.
That's it from the Park Pride side, but I know some of you guys came in with some updates, but we wanted to just use this last kind of time we have together to hear from you all. If there are things you wanted to share, things you want to let the group know about, this is kind of your time to unmute yourself, say a few words, or just listen. So nothing? I try to count a few seconds in my brain.
Well, I'm glad we're getting together here. This is
Yeah.
great that we all have the same ideas, that we are here networking. But where we need to do and expand this is have this same kind of meeting, letting people who are not in our space kind of knowing this is going on. Certainly our next mayor, whoever that is, yes, they're my favorite. Whoever it is, they're my favorite. But then being a part of, the conversation after this, having them know that there are not just people in one part of the city, but all parts of the city that are interested in exactly why we're here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you mentioned, the new mayor, whoever that is, of course, we'll be trying to work with them, push for more resources for parks, especially park maintenance. And we'll definitely reach out to particularly City of Atlanta groups, but everyone will get this information, ways that friends groups can help us advocate for parks and green space in this next administration. We'll see what that looks like. And I think some of our green space gatherings, especially in City of Atlanta, we'll talk about that depending on what the community kind of wants to bring forward. But I think we'll definitely touch on some advocacy things in person as well as we go forward.
And also, if you're in the city of Atlanta and you feel like your park is missing bike racks, or there you see bike racks all over the city, but you go to your park and you don't see anywhere for people to put, adequately park their bikes, let me know. Reach out to me, and I'm kind of working with the city of Atlanta's old placemaking program. It's called Love Our Spaces program now, and they're kind of working to delineate some new bike corrals around the city, and they're interested in some park spaces. So like I said, if you're interested in getting some bike corrals, I know they're doing muralized spaces around them. Pretty interesting stuff. So if you're interested, again, my email is Tori@Park Pride, and just reach out to me and let me know.
Well, we won't hold y'all hostage unless there's any other comments from the group. Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you.
Great year.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks to you all at Park Pride for everything you do, and all the volunteers, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Micah. Safe travel.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate Park Pride.